We now finally think we have a trial date and that this thing is going to start August 11th, 2025. It's been moved to Boise out of Moscow, and they're estimating it's going to take till, they got very specific, November 7th, August 11th to November 7th. That's all that can change. But it's been moved and it's finally set. It's taken forever. I know the families, some of them are annoyed that it has taken this long to finally get a trial date. And I predict this one will probably be pushed too. But now we have a new judge. Judge is gone. And Judge Hippner, I think, is in, right?
Hippler.
Is that
Hippler.
Hippler. It's like very close to the other name that sounds just like that, I've got to say. And so where do things stand? How do you like where the defense is at this point, so close now to potential trial?
What the defense has to do at this point is to raise as many questions as possible. I say that even though every time the defense appears in the courtroom, Ann Taylor, the lead defense attorney, makes it a point of putting her arm, rather maternally even, around Kohberger and saying, I believe 100% in his innocence. And yet, what she has to do, the dialectics of her case, is to raise questions. And unfortunately, for anyone who believes that Kohberger is guilty, as I do, there's a lot of questions she can raise. The first one is the Brady evidence, evidence that should have been given to the defense has not been given to them. This involves forensic genetic material. They have not gotten all of it. They had to go to court. The prosecution was holding back. Why the prosecution would hold back on this immediately raises questions. What are they trying to cover up? This is America. Give them everything. Let the jury see everything. Don't give an excuse for the jury to have any doubts. But they've only given back some of it. What specifically they've given still remains under seal. But I think this genetic information that the defense has is going to raise questions about when and how did the authorities know about Kohberger. One of the attorneys involved.
This is big. Just to set this up, you broke this in airmail, as we mentioned in the intro, where you write. And it has to do with the knife sheath, the one piece of DNA evidence that we know of that was found in this case. And what we know now is that what they say is they found the knife sheath, they had it tested for DNA, they found touch DNA on it, which is legit, but not like the best. And they were able to get a hit in some DNA database that brought up the name Kohberger, in particular Kohberger's dad. And they could say this was the DNA of the killer's father. So they're claiming that's what, eventually brought us to Kohberger. That's sort of where we thought it was. And then they tested his DNA and they say, and that made it clear it was Kohberger. But you're saying not so fast. There may have been some shenanigans along the chain.
And it's not just me saying this, it's what the defense is saying. The defense is saying, well, if you actually did it the way you've explained, got the information that way, share everything with us. Tell us what the FBI did. The FBI, to add to this confusion, is not even giving everything to the prosecution, or at least that's what the prosecution is saying. They're saying, well, we don't have everything from the FBI. Now, by law, the FBI is supposed to preserve all their genetic investigation. Has it been destroyed? Is it missing? Or, and this is what the defense is looking for, is there something they're trying to hide? What could they be trying to hide? Well, it comes down to this. When you're doing this investigation, where you're trying to build out a family tree, you can only go to certain genetic databases. The other ones are precluded by law from allowing the legal authorities to get into them. Did the FBI go into a database where they shouldn't have? That seems to be a question that they're trying to cover up. And ultimately, it comes down to was Kohberger, one of the attorneys involved in the case has compared it to as if they took him into a lineup and it was a rigged lineup. They knew he was guilty to begin with. They already had the man they were looking for. This also comes back to something I wrote about early on. I've said that when Kohberger and his father left Washington State to go home for Christmas, they did this on December 12th. I said the FBI were following them. The FBI.
You were like the only person who had that report.
I had it first, and it was picked up by others, repeated by others. The FBI to this day denies that they were following him. Now, why this is so interesting, I've covered lots of stories. The FBI usually doesn't comment. Usually says, well, we're not going to comment, wait till trial. This, they've been vehemently denying it. And why are they denying this? Because I think the only way they could have been doing this, the only way they could have been following him is if they had accessed information that they should not have. And the fact.
All right, let me just stop you there. Let me stop you there so we can walk the audience through what you're saying step by step. That was just a shot from a police body cam of them getting pulled over, which they did. Was it 3 times? 2 to 3 times, right?
Twice.
Okay. Twice,
again, which is amazing in itself. I mean, you couldn't make that up.
No, so they got pulled over when they were driving. This is post the murders. Bryan Kohberger's driving with his dad cross country back from Washington State to the Poconos, Pennsylvania. And they got pulled over not once, but twice and let go with just, a warning to obey the traffic laws. And you reported that the FBI was following him, was watching him during this trip, that at one point when he left Washington State, they lost him and they had to retrieve him or find him again, thanks to like the Easy Pass data that, can track the cars. And they did find him. Yeah, license plate reader. And so your report was very specific. It wasn't just like the FBI knew who he was, so it's logical they were following him. You were reporting, no. They were following, and they had a real decision to make about whether to intervene when the local cops with whom they did not coordinate genuinely pulled him over for 2 traffic violations. It was very specific, Howard.
Yes. I mean, could you imagine you're the FBI, you're following this guy who's your person of interest in a murder case, and suddenly you see him being pulled over, and you don't know how he's going to respond. If he is indeed guilty, well, he could... and if he is indeed the murderer of 4 people, something could happen to this police officer, this highway patrolman who's trying to stop the car, or the car could take off. You could have an OJ chase across America. But the FBI makes its decision to hang back because one of the reasons they decide to hang back is because what they're doing is secret. They have not even told the Moscow police, who are their partners in this investigation, that they already have this person of interest. They don't reveal to the Moscow police until a week later, until after the Kohbergers get to Pennsylvania. And why are they doing this? What are they keeping secret? They're keeping secret that because of their zeal to catch a monster, they may be played fast and loose with the rules on DNA acquisition of certain websites. And that's what they're trying to keep
stand
quiet.
by. So because you say, you accurately point out, and I think the audience has a good enough feel to know this, the FBI, you're right, they never give statements. I mean, when does the FBI ever come out and say, we deny we were there? They say nothing. They let us as media people pound sand, do absolutely, just twist. They don't need to confirm or deny anything. It's kind of the way the DOJ operates, same, related organization. So on your story, though, and with all due respect to you and Airmail, you've owned the story, but it's not exactly like it was on the cover of the New York Times and they kind of, felt like they had to, they could have blown you off, but they didn't. They come out and they're like, it's not true. We weren't following him, which in a way is more telling than if they'd said nothing. And so now you go to what is it? Why would they do that? And then we have to go back on the timeline to figure out why they might be feeling squirrely about Howard Blum's report that they knew Bryan Kohberger was their suspect, and they knew it well before they now say they knew it, which was the end of December. Now they want us to believe they didn't have him until the end of December. But you're reporting they had him much earlier than that, thanks to the genetic genealogy, and how they made the ID is where the big questions come in. Not you. I know the defense is saying this.
The exact dates, I mean, the FBI has said they identified him on December 19th. He became a person of interest, and that was because of car license plate readings, and then they still hadn't done the DNA yet. I am saying that on approximately December 11th, that's when they first got aware of Kohberger, and everything else followed. It was the DNA that led the case and allowed them to track everything else down. And you see in the public affidavit at the time of the arrest, there's really no mention of the investigative genealogy work that was done. And the prosecution would like to keep this all out of the case. They say it's irrelevant to how we made our case. But the defense, and I think has a really good case, is saying, show it to us. What are you keeping secret? Why are you hiding this? And it's all going to be about confusing jurors.
For those of us holding our breath for the past several months as we came up to this election, we can finally exhale. Work can at last be done on the major issues this country's facing, one of the most significant being our national debt. The fact is, we're broke, and that debt is a house of cards for our nation that cannot be quickly dismantled. So the strategy remains the same. You might want to diversify your savings. This is why I want to tell you about Birch Gold. So many things are out of our control, out of our president's control. So it can be important to have a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group can help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. And the best news is it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Text MK to 989898 to get your free info kit. Plus, right now, you will receive a free 1-ounce silver eagle coin for every $5,000 purchased. Protect your savings with Birch Gold. Text MK to 989898 and claim your eligibility for free silver today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.